Coming up on this episode of Focus, we showcase the people, places, and issues that matter to you. First, we meet a local young man inspiring the masses and facing adversity with a little laughter. Reporter Brittany Garzillo introduces us to Shane Burkaw and Laughing at My Nightmare. Then, if you haven't visited downtown Allentown lately, things look a lot different than you remember. Grover Silcox takes us on a tour of this amazing revitalization. And finally, I travel to one of our region's most weird and wonderful parks. Don't go anywhere. Focus starts right now. Focus showcases the people, places, and issues that matter to you.
Everybody has a story.
These are the stories that uplift and inspire right here in your neighborhood. Focus on what matters.
You never know what you're going to see when you tune into Focus.
Support for Focus is provided by
the people of Air Products feel privileged to bring this programming to you. By supporting education and the arts, Air Products strives to improve the quality of life here in the Lehigh Valley, where we call home.
You're safe at home at Luther Crest, a Diacon senior living community in Allentown. Our mission is to offer premier accommodations and services so residents can cultivate a healthy and fulfilling retirement. At Luther Crest, we offer independent living apartments and cottages, personal care, skilled nursing, rehabilitative services, and more. Plus, the Luther Crest team strives to provide each person family-like support. You might say it's like a home run. Luther Crest.
This fall, make your way to Bethlehem for Oktoberfest, presented by Yingling, October 4th through the 13th at Steel Stacks. Enjoy authentic German cuisine, rides, games, and plenty of live music. Plus, don't miss pairing lunches with Yingling Brewmasters and the popular Dachshund races. Looking for the ultimate Oktoberfest experience? Check out the Bar Skills Challenge and Miss Oktoberfest contest October 5th. Come back for the new Celebrity Skills Challenge on the 12th. Oktoberfest, presented by Yingling, where Deutsch means Dutch. For tickets and info, artsquest.org.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Laura McHugh. Welcome to the show where we focus on what matters. We've all heard the saying, laughter is the best medicine. Well, one local young man puts that theory to the test. Focus reporter Brittany Garzillo shares his story. Brittany?
Thanks, Laura. We now take you to a story of hope, perseverance, and proof that people can make a difference in amazing ways. It's a story of a young man who has overcome endless obstacles with his optimism and is encouraging others to do the same. The trick? To live life with a little bit of laughter.
Hi, my name is Shane Burkaw. I'm 21 years old, and I have a disease called spinal muscular atrophy that's eventually going to kill me. I love to laugh, and my life is pretty funny. Allow me to share.
His optimism has sparked headlines.
We are back with Shane Burkaw.
And his determination to do good takes him across the country. But one thing sets Shane apart from most 21-year-olds his age. Diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy, also known as SMA, at only 9 months old, Shane has been in a wheelchair since the age of 2. SMA is a terminal disease in which the body lacks an essential protein for muscle maintenance and growth. Over time, it will cause Shane's muscles to deteriorate. Most individuals battling this disease have a lifespan between the ages of 20 and 30 years old.
There's times when I do get really down about the progressive nature of my disease, because I know that in 10 years I'll be worse off than I am now, and that can really mess with my mind sometimes.
Shane completely depends on other people and his power wheelchair for almost everything physical. From getting in and out of bed to washing his hair, Shane relies mostly on the help of his 2 parents, John and Susan, and his younger brother, Andrew.
It was a decision on his part, a very pronounced decision, where he was just simply going to decide to live life as fully as he possibly could. He's risen above his wheelchair and has been able to do some absolutely amazing things in spite of it.
And the way I handle it and the way my family handles it is to laugh at it.
About 2 years ago, Shane started sharing that message with the world in his blog called Laughing at My Nightmare. Here he inspires others to deal with adversity using his medicine of choice, laughter.
Humor really can help you deal with whatever you're going through. And it's not going to fix your problems. You know, laughing at a broken foot won't heal it, but it'll make it easier to deal with.
Even during the interview, Shane couldn't resist but share some of his wisecracks with us.
Can I wear this while we do the interview? Because I have to shave if not.
Since the start of his blog, fans across the world have fallen in love with his optimistic approach to life, despite his incredible odds. In January of 2012, he decided to start his own nonprofit called Laughing at My Nightmare. Here, he inspires others to follow in his footsteps, as well as donate a portion of the proceeds to fight to find a cure for those with muscular dystrophy. Today, his blog reaches more than 400,000 followers, and that number grows every day.
I get messages from Brazil and Australia, all over the world. It's crazy, and I still don't really know how to react to it because it's so awesome.
Shane and I work really close together on all of our projects, just brainstorming new ideas, new ways we can just reach people and get them to think about life differently and offer them a new perspective.
Laughing at My Nightmare shares this optimistic perspective whenever and wherever it can. From posts on the website and blog, to hosting an annual 5K walk, run, and roll in the Lehigh Valley, to taking a road trip down the East Coast to spread the message firsthand.
We go on tours and we speak to schools and to universities and just random people we meet on the street, just striking up conversations about laughter and about life.
I've definitely seen both in my own community and across the world how the message of laughing at your adversity is really, resonating with people.
Shane's story caught the national spotlight this past spring when he was featured in a documentary entitled My Last Days, and recently landed him on an episode of Katie Couric's new show, Katie.
I'm convinced you're going to do everything you set out to do. Shane Burkhan, John Burkhoff, thank you both so much.
Most recently, Shane's story was captured by an Emmy Award-winning local production company called Fire Rock Productions. As a producer for the documentary, Shane is now Emmy Award-winning himself.
I'm beyond proud. I really am.
I want Laughing at My Nightmare to be the biggest nonprofit that I can make it. I want to reach millions or billions of people and travel the world and talk with them. And I don't want to limit myself by reality. I want to keep striving to achieve more than I think is possible.
In the near future, Shane could do just that, except this time it won't come in the form of a blog, but in a book.
When I began kindergarten, there was no debate about whether or not I would be in a normal classroom.
He got an agent, and he's working with the Macmillan Publishing Company in New York City.
It was probably the most surreal thing that's ever happened to me. And so now I'm in the process of writing my manuscript.
I believe wholeheartedly that when he hits the bookshelves next fall, his book will be a bestseller.
For Shane, quality of life isn't about ability, but about attitude. The right one can make a world of a difference.
He's doing it to honestly change the world and change people's outlook on their own life.
The quality of your life is about, your attitude and your happiness as you go through all the crap that you have to deal with. The way I look at life is I have two options. I can either have a good time or let my disease ruin everything.
Thanks, Brittany. We'll take a peek at downtown Allentown, and the city's skyline looks a lot different. Steel frames and cranes stretch into the sky along 7th Street, and the sounds of construction flow down Hamilton. That's the sound of change. But what kind of change? Here's Focus reporter Grover Silcox to tell us more.
Thanks, Laura. Allentown's much-talked-about hockey arena is now taking shape in the heart of the city. I spoke with Allentown's Mayor Ed Pawlowski, a major contractor on the site, and others about the new facility and what it promises for Allentown and the Lehigh Valley.
Slow down, and you've got to challenge it and make them play.
Can hockey rev up a city?
Well, Allentown's banking on it. Next year, Allentonians and the whole Lehigh Valley will know for sure when the former Philadelphia Phantoms relocate to the Queen City as the newly named Lehigh Valley Phantoms.
They needed a home. This was a great home, considering how well the minor league affiliate of the Phillies is doing up here, the Iron Pigs.
The Lehigh Valley Phantoms, minor league affiliate of the Philadelphia Flyers, will get a new home at the $177 million PPL Center, now under construction in the heart of downtown Allentown.
This job is a full city block. We're bounded by 7th and 8th Street, Hamilton and Linden Street. In this development, you will have an office building, a hotel, a hockey arena, and a parking deck.
That will be the arena floor right there. At 4,000 tons of steel going into this structure and 27,000 cubic yards of concrete.
Wow.
It's a big project.
The arena will have between 8,500 and 10,000 seats, 30 club boxes, attached parking, a restaurant and sports bar, and retail shops.
We're not only going to have hockey games, we're going to have concerts and other venues, trade shows, Disney on Ice, community events.
Allentown Mayor Ed Pulowski envisions the center drawing large numbers to the downtown.
You're probably talking somewhere between at least 700,000, more likely 1 million people a year coming in to the downtown.
Lehigh Valley Hospital will have a sports medicine center in the One City Center building attached to the arena on the Hamilton Street side.
And then you've got to the east of the arena, you have a 9-story hotel, 180-room hotel.
And the old Dime Bank building will actually act as the entranceway to the hotel.
The Dime Bank building was an old historic building from the 20s. We had to go in and underpin the building and put foundations 20 feet down below the existing foundation.
The arena's main entrance faces Center Square at 7th and Hamilton. The whole arena complex is part of the city's Neighborhood Improvement Zone, or NIZ.
The Neighborhood Improvement Zone is a special incentive district that was established to help promote development in Center City, Allentown.
What started out as just an arena really blossomed to an entire economic development strategy to revitalize downtown.
Jim Brooks, co-owner of the Phantoms, expressed his thoughts at a beam signing celebration in August.
It's about the philosophy and the vision of rebuilding the third largest city in the Commonwealth.
Billy Canupus, owner of Billy's Downtown Diner in Bethlehem, plans to open another diner on Hamilton Street, right up the block from the arena.
It's a beautiful community. Now it's coming into the new millennium with all this vibrancy, and it's just great and exciting to be part of something like that.
Billy figures with 8,500 people attending a hockey game, they're going to need the kind of food that made his diner a Bethlehem favorite.
We want to give them the same food, the same cuisine, the same atmosphere, the same music, the same service.
Hey, this is really a great day to be mayor of the city of Allentown.
Billy's optimism about Allentown mirrors Mayor Pulaski's. It's an optimism bolstered by more than $1 billion of development currently going on throughout the city.
And what people are seeing going up now is only just a small portion of the overall, master plan. I think the sun is really rising on the city of Allentown.
In that light, the future of Pennsylvania's third largest city may grow brighter. For Focus, I'm Grover Silcox reporting.
Thanks, Grover. I'm now joined by the representatives of Allentown in the Pennsylvania General Assembly, Senator Pat Brown and Representative Mike Schlossberg. Gentlemen, for someone who's never even heard of the Neighborhood Improvement Zone, also called a NIZ or an NIZ before, in a minute or less, what is it?
It's a redevelopment tool. We want our cities, like Allentown, to meet their full potential commercially. And it allows for the pooling of receipts within the zone, within the challenge district, to be used to revitalize the zone. And at this point in time, I think we've seen some success. It's a 30-year incentive, so we're looking at a big future here. And hopefully, in those 30 years, Allentown will meet its full potential.
Go ahead.
I think one of the most important things, too, is just in terms of how much easier it makes redevelopment. The boundaries to urban revitalization are so significant simply because it's easier and it's cheaper to take a greenfield out in a farm town and turn it into an industrial park than it is to build a 13-story office tower in Allentown. What the NIZ does is it makes it cheaper, and it ultimately makes it possible to bring all this revitalization back into the city.
Senator Brown, how does it work?
Well, what it does is it builds off what a commercial district in an urban center is, in that you have a lot of different segments that work together, that correlate to each other, and it allows those receipts that in a challenged area like Allentown are relatively low, and anticipates future receipts, similar to an urban center that is operating at its potential, and utilizes that projected future receipts to be reinvested back into the urban center. So what we're trying to do is make a challenged urban district meet its full potential and anticipate what those future tax receipts are and reinvest them. So it's something that looks to the future for Allentown and capitalizes off the interrelation between different segments of the economy in the city, whether it be commerce or hospitality or accommodation or retail, that all work together. And hopefully it'll lead to the maximization of those investments going forward.
Now, it has been controversial. Representative Schlossberg, what is it actually allowed to happen in Allentown?
Well, you take a look downtown and you look at the job creation and the new buildings that are going in, and it's simply remarkable. Right now, I think we're at a couple of thousand jobs. By the end of the development, we'll be at 3,500 to 4,000 new jobs, and this is in a region that typically, during the course of the Great Recession, has had an unemployment level that's above the state average and that's above the national average. And something that I know Pat and I care deeply about is the school district. At the end of the day, we can't just depend on the state for state dollars. We have to increase our local revenue share, and what the NIS will ultimately do is help generate that money that can be reinvested in the school district and help make it great once again.
You brought up jobs. Senator Brown, what kind of jobs are we looking at?
Well, it's going to be a mix of jobs. Like I said, an urban center is a mix of different business segments, commercial, hospitality, accommodation, and when you have an urban center that is working properly, it has all these different business segments. So the jobs could be varied. And the secret behind this is having a portfolio of taxes that accommodates all those different opportunities: bank shares tax, insurance premiums taxes, and the general taxes. So you have all these opportunities to create jobs in all these different business segments. And commercial centers that are thriving have a variance of different jobs that serve each other. So I think the jobs are going to be very diverse, and it's going to make the city a lot more productive.
How can other cities now utilize this tool?
Well, we had taken the neighborhood improvement zone. The legislature had advanced a similar model for other cities. It's coined as the Community Revitalization Improvement Zone. A little different than the neighborhood improvement zone, but it was built on that model. And what we'll have is two separate cities in Pennsylvania that will qualify for this going forward in this next cycle, and then two in the subsequent cycle. Hopefully using the same types of opportunities that Allentown has had. But one of our challenges in Pennsylvania is Pennsylvania's third-class cities, a lot of them are really challenged. And if we can look to this model to help rebuild those cities as well, I think we've done a lot more than just for Allentown, but for the whole state.
Who are some of the cities that are looking into this?
There are, I want to say, 8 or 9 cities that qualify. 9 cities that qualify right now. I know that locally here we have Bethlehem is very heavily competing for it. Certainly hopeful they're successful. Lancaster and York are also 2 that are up there. Other qualifying ones really run the gamut in the state. You have Reading, you have Erie. Harrisburg doesn't qualify because of their financial situation. Scranton doesn't qualify because they're technically a 2A class city as opposed to a 3rd class city. But it runs the gamut throughout the state.
Representative Schlossberg, Senator Pat Brown, thank you so much for being here today and sharing this information with our viewers. Well, for many of you watching, I'm about to add a new word to your vocabulary, the word megalith. It means giant standing stone. Picture Stonehenge, and you'll get the idea. When I first traveled to Columcille Megalith Park in Bangor, I thought I would find a story about a place. What I discovered instead, the story of the man who created this most weird and wonderful park and has given his personal property as a gift to the entire world.
Each time the bell tolls in this unusual park, the moral of an old Celtic legend echoes through the forest glen, warning that the way you think it is may not be the way it is at all.
So keep your paradigm unzipped. There's more mystery than you realize.
Bill Coy is personally responsible for the mystery that has surrounded these 17 acres in Bangor, Pennsylvania for the better part of 3 decades.
Oh, there are many stories about this place. One is the pond has no bottom. Secondly, the stones were set by aliens.
Though the witty 87-year-old claims he didn't start those rumors, he does admit to this one.
I just cut the trees down and found the stones here. And that's the short answer.
With the face and posture of a seasoned sea captain and the pipe to match, Bill's hearty laugh sounds through the trees and bounces off the giant stones for what seems like miles. All teasing aside, Bill has hand-selected each and every one of the more than 90 giant standing stones that make up Columcille Megalith Park.
3 miles down the road, they dug shale for road beds. That's a crumbly stone. These boulders were locked in the lining of that shale, which was mud under the Devonian Sea 400 million years ago.
If you're thinking to yourself, I've never seen any place else like this, well, you're right. The Smithsonian Institution classifies Columcille as the only outdoor megalith park and Celtic art center in the United States.
This local legend dates to 1975, when Bill retired and bought 20 acres of land near the Appalachian Trail, just off Route 191.
I was 50 years old. Life can begin again at 50.
In 1979, Bill found a partner and companion in Fred Lindquist, who left his own 20-year career as a banker to join Bill in this adventure.
And everybody looked at me as if I were crazy, and I said, well, this is something I feel I have to do.
Inspired by Scotland's Isle of Iona, Bill and Fred created St. Columba Chapel that year with the help of a local stonemason.
And I walked up to this spot, and I felt like I was standing on a hot air register. And so I said, put a stick in the ground, this is where we're going to build the chapel.
It took 40 working days to complete the building. It really was, I have to say, it's a beautiful, magical time.
The next year, in 1980, they built St. Orens Tower. Then they started hauling in and setting stones, and never really stopped. The Circle of Stones, Thor's Gate, Manannan, the Protector Stone, towering 20 feet tall. Each and every stone had something special that caught Bill's eye, including this one, named for the matron saint of Ireland, St. Bridget.
Sit down. You get over here and lay both hands on it. It's a special blessing for that baby. If it's a girl, it's Bridget.
Though technically a private park, Bill and Fred opened the acreage to the public to come for any reason, from quiet reflection to nature celebrations.
You really feel at one with nature here, and the energies are that much deeper and more sacred than, let's say, another average park.
I came here looking for a Celtic experience, and what I found was something better and maybe wider and better, which is community.
Last year we had over 7,000 visitors from around the world. We get them from Machu Picchu, we get them from Russia, we get them from Scotland and Ireland.
It's wonderful to meet people and hear their life stories and hear, you know, wow, we've lived here all our lives, just 10 miles down the road and we didn't even know this place was here. That type of story, we're always hearing it, always hearing it.
To ensure the park will remain long after they're gone, in 1998, Bill and Fred created a nonprofit organization to manage it and placed the property under easement with the Heritage Conservancy. 2 years later, they transferred their personal deed.
Bill and I have to say the day that we did that, it was like giving away a child at a wedding. It was, I mean, it was a feeling that comes from the heart, and it was joy and sadness at the same time.
As Bill walks along the shaded paths he's created, he says it's hard to think about the future.
It'll be around here 500 years from now.
But these stones from the millennia give him perspective.
And whenever I get upset and walk around, they smile and say, hey, Bill, relax, you're nothing but a blip. Yeah.
A reminder that the way you think it is may not be the way it is at all.
And I have to tell you that when you go to this park, there truly is this feeling of calm and stillness when you walk through that gate. A lot different than what you're going to find in Allentown right now.
Just a little. You go from a megalith park
to a mega development project in a major urban city like Allentown. But they're very excited about it, and it's amazing all of the development that the arena has spawned throughout the downtown area, right to the riverfront along the Lehigh there. And of course, we always learn things ourselves. And one of the most fascinating things for me was just how a hockey rink is created. You know, it's built on slabs of cement, and the top slab has pipes that run throughout it. I forget, 14 miles, something like that. And it freezes, and it freezes the water on top of it and creates the ice that the skaters, play on. And that ice is only about an inch thick. And then they actually paint the lines and the logo and everything else right on the ice.
You think that that's painted underneath, and then we're looking at 6 inches of ice on top of it.
Right. You would think you'd need at least 6 inches to take the wear and tear of a hockey team, of hockey teams going at it and playing the game on the surface. But evidently, that's the way it works. And of course, you have the Zamboni to keep it all fresh and new.
And when we talk about that funding mechanism that was in place, the Neighborhood Improvement Zone, to fund all of this,
right.
It's really hard to talk about in such a short period of time. That's actually one of the reasons we're hoping to produce a documentary, a full 60-minute documentary for PBS 39 viewers about this whole project.
Right. There are so many aspects, so many people, so many partners, public and private, that come together to create this kind of project and turn a city around, that it takes at least a documentary to tell that whole story.
And it took a documentary to tell Shane's full story, too.
He's just so amazing. You know, he has this ability to just find light even in the darkest of times, and I think that attitude is going to take him very far in life.
Well, these are great examples of the kinds of stories we hope to share with you on Focus throughout this season. For more information on this show, visit us online at wlvt.org/focus. From all of us, thanks for joining us, and remember to focus on what matters.
Support for Focus is provided by
the people of Air Products feel privileged to bring this programming to you. By supporting education and the arts, Air Products strives to improve the quality of life here in the Lehigh Valley, where we call home.
In 1948, John Walson put an antenna on top of a mountain and ran a cable back to his television store. Cable TV was born. Now, over 60 years later, his vision has changed the way we get our information.